one of the reasons, well, this is a fundamental question rather, that we, Los Amigos, addressed when we first heard about this particular resolution. And the resolution, of course, is to change or revise the prerequisite policy regulations in Title V. And the fundamental question reads, how will the proposed prerequisite policy revisions impact the California Community College mission in general, and specifically underprepared students? As we massage that question, obviously we started thinking, well, geez, what is it? What kind of things should we be talking about? What fundamentally is going to be our premise? And here are some of the factors that we've thought is our premise. We know it's our premise, right? First, it's community concern and involvement. We felt that we really needed to be getting involved with this because, for some or another, the community, at least our perception, was not involved in the discussion of these particular proposed policy changes. Secondly, is clarity, so the community folks can thoroughly understand the rationale and the core issues. Thirdly, we're very concerned about impact in regards to access and equity in the California Community College system. Very concerned about that because, as you well know, the California Community College system has this long-term philosophy, which is viewed as a second chance institution.
I mentioned to you earlier that the North Orange County Community College District had an uneven history in providing opportunity to students from diverse backgrounds. In studying a portion of that history, I reviewed numerous articles and court documents related to a 1988 court case filed by MALDEF on behalf of students who believed that Fullerton College testing criteria resulted in, I'll quote directly from an article in the Orange County Register on May 19, 1988, that's resulted in Hispanic students being forced into non-credit remedial English and mathematics classes and slowed their academic progress. Indeed, this is the crux of some of the discussions we are having today, and I want to lay it straightforward for you. Indeed, the outcome of that court case later codified in Title V of California Code of Regulations, section that you know it all as 55003, policies for prerequisites and co-requisites, and advisories on those recommended prerequisites and co-requisites. I won't read it all to you, but I do want you to understand that this Title V indicates that prerequisites, rather stipulates that student prerequisites be empirically validated to meet professional standards. Determinations about research practices and co-requisites shall be made on a course-by-course or program-by-program basis. The State Academic Senate then has asked that consideration be given to its resolution to change Title V. Specifically, the resolution states that the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges recommend changes to the Title V language on prerequisites that, instead of relying on statistical analysis, allow local faculty to base their determination for prerequisites of English, reading, or mathematics for collegiate level courses on content review.
Thank you for choosing this venue here at Fullerton College, where over 20 years ago, young Christopher Romero Frias, with help from MALDEF, took on the community college system and won. I did not know this until Los Amigos educated me about this fact and its importance to protecting and ensuring student access to core classes. I think essentially what this is about is deregulation, which usually sounds good, especially for those who benefit from the deregulation. In this case, we need to ask who will really benefit. We assume, of course, that it's the students, but we just need to ask and study the Christopher Frias out there. So it's not quite clear to me who benefits. Is it the community college system? Is it our democratic society? As a trustee, I think we always have to ask those questions in terms of who really benefits from this proposed change. And I don't know the answer, but I'm anxious to learn more from many of the experts this morning. But I do think that this policy is problematic for two reasons. First, we are told that the community college system needs more uniformity in alignment in courses, and I totally agree with that. From a student perspective, navigating our higher education system between the community college system, the CSU and UC has become a quagmire. In fact, in our very own district, our sister colleges, Fullerton and Cypress, are not even in alignment among some disciplines. So why are we allowing more deregulation? For this reason alone, we need to think this through very carefully. But the second effect of deregulation of Title V is potentially more problematic. And as I look out at this audience, I know for a fact that many here have been victims of bigotry. Many obviously have triumphed over it, but we know it exists. It exists not necessarily by individual intent, but sometimes as the result of unintended consequences of policies carried out through institutions. We had that happen right here in OCCCD and how we were implementing AB 540 unevenly, allowing some groups in while barring others. I think most institutions, if they are honest and look critically at their practices and cultures, will find examples of bigotry. So even though everyone here in this room is perfect and has no prejudices, I would venture to say that that is not true out there. As the great Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It also goes that policies that create an unjust threat to any student and any community college is a threat to all students in all community colleges.
This has been a thoughtful, deliberate conversation amongst the faculty, certainly, for years and years and years. The problem, and I was asked to give a perspective from a community perspective, although my research work is in education policy, I would like to provide a broader picture, I think that I haven't heard quite yet, which is the fiscal picture. And that certainly this policy that has been progressing for the past 15 years, for the documents I've read, have found a place during a hard fiscal time. In the 60s, yet again, a retrenchment began to occur. The silent majority at the end of the 60s began to say, enough is enough. These people do not belong in our schools, despite what we tried to create with open access in the 60s. So the narrative gets constructed again where MALDEF must rise now, along with LULAC and other community organizations to say, no, these are our schools. These are our schools. So we fought again, our community, to gain access. Now, in the 1980s, we see it again with Fullerton College. We saw it again, where students were being told, you don't belong here, and if it's not in this class, you belong in another class because you shouldn't be with the rest of us. And from a narrative of community, that's the message that I think a lot of us are hearing. And I know that's not the intent, but that's the effect. And that's what we base a lot of our law on, is the effect, the disparate impact that it has. So the community rose up again with MALDEF, Christopher, and filed a lawsuit and won. And now here we are again, and by the way, that was during the time of crisis, again, ideological crisis in our country. Conservatism. Here we are again 15, 20 years later in another fiscal crisis, and here we are again with another policy that, while not malintended, certainly has maleffects based on what we've heard today. What is most disconcerting for us is that just as many of us begin to develop the tools and the understanding of how we best do education, we get into a fiscal crisis where the focus is not on education, it's actually efficiency. It's efficiency. So what gets lost is the education of students and how do we best do it. And we end up
to sum up, yes, we need to insist on student success. There is a problem fundamentally in our system. It's disproportionately hurting students of color. But most student groups from all across the rainbow are caught in this dilemma. We need to look for and insist on more research and evidence to settle some of these questions, not less. We need to make sure that whatever we do, we don't foreclose the kinds of innovations we're seeing out there with faculty and students in the field. If you require a prerequisite before you get into a college class, you need to realize then that the students cannot take both the prerequisite and the class simultaneously. Most of the innovative models that we've looked at here rely on having students taking simultaneously college-level work that challenges them, even as they address their fundamental basic skills. We need to consider differential instruction and scaffolding and having faculty work differently with different levels of students in the same classroom. We know it can be done. We need fewer prerequisites, not more. Students need more, not fewer challenges. And finally, we need to always and forever radically question our assumptions.
So don't you forget that and use that quality that we bring from our sending countries to the United States. We respect so much. When the history of Los Amigos will be written, we will write that we rubbed elbows with you today. It's very important. We will continue to do so. Nancy reminded us that Los Amigos was the plaintiff for the 1980 suit way back when. But we're here in a mode of appreciation to learn what the movements are. We do not like to challenge things and so forth, but we will be ready at any time should the occasion arise again to do so. Los Amigos will be there. And we want to thank each and every one of you, especially the